Hello, friends, and welcome back to Dare Me to Prosper. This is episode 22. I am Avery, your host, and today's episode, we're talking about when the future feels unclear, how to receive answers and clarity from spirit, how to tap into your future, how to, look for guidance on what steps to take next when you feel like life is chaotic and you feel lost and unsure and everything's just a bit crazy, because I know we can all relate to that, especially in the year 2025. When the world feels as chaotic and unstable, especially as it does right now, it's really difficult to feel like not only is your world unstable, but you might not feel grounded. You might not feel settled in your personal life because everything feels so unsure. So even personally, if it's your relationships, your career, your health, 2025 is a very energetically volatile and upending year. We are seeing a lot of karmic cycles ending and beginning, and just a lot of upheaval, a lot of tower moments. There is a lot of shifting and evolving going on for everyone collectively. So if you're discouraged right now, you are not alone. I can guarantee you that, myself included. The astrology, also, the planets, the placements, they are all over the place. So if you are not very familiar with astrology, you might want to take a little bit of time to kind of research, what's your birth chart, what are the placements in your birth chart and what's going on for you in 2025. It might clue you in on a little bit of what you can expect because it is so crazy. So if you are someone who likes to meditate or likes to try to tune into spirit or your guides for information, maybe you like to pull tarot cards, maybe you like to ask for signs, whatever it is for you that you rely on to gain clarity or information, or maybe it's just your own intuition and you just kind of wait for that to become more clear. We are going to talk about basically how to feel more sure, how to feel more confident in those things, and what to do and not do. How to get clear answers even when life feels murky. But before we dive into the episode, please leave a review if you have not left a review yet. It really helps the podcast. I would love to give you a shout out if you leave a review as well, especially on Apple Podcasts. Those reviews are super important. If you're listening on Spotify, you can also leave comments. So any way that you would like to communicate with me or leave some feedback, I would love to get that from you. Also, just a reminder that I have a free past life meditation bundle that is available for you. If you would like to tap into a past life or attempt to do a meditation, I recorded a meditation that I really felt like would be the one that I really would have wanted to do in the beginning when I was first really seeking out that information and doing those meditations. So that is free, and there's a link in the show notes if you would like to do that. And this is also your reminder that I now do one-on-one channeling services to work with you on this exact topic that we're talking about today, gaining more clarity on your future. Basically allowing someone else to tap into your energy, especially on subjects that don't feel as clear or that you have a lot of emotion wrapped in, and it's a little bit harder to figure out which way to go. There's a lot of overthinking, all of that. If you would like some guidance on that, I do now work with clients one-on-one doing psychic sessions. So if that is something that you have been interested in or leaning towards, you can also find the link for that in my show notes as well. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is such a topic that I know everybody can really relate to. I know that we all know that feeling really well of just feeling frustrated, not knowing where our life is going, especially if you are in a more challenging season or in a more challenging year. It's really frustrating to feel like things need to change, or that you're not where you're supposed to be right now. That this is what you want, but you're not where you want to be in this current moment, and you're not sure what path to take to get to where you want to go. Or maybe you don't know where you want to go, but you just know what you're doing right now or where you are right now is not working. What do I do? Where do I go? Life is really unclear. It's chaotic. I'm frustrated. I'm overthinking. And I have all of these emotions wrapped up in that. It's a very difficult murky place to be. And this is really just part of being human, right? Part of being human is that we don't have all of the answers, and it's supposed to be that way because such a big part of this life process is literally figuring things out as we go and learning lessons as we go. And figuring things out is kind of the avenue where we are learning lessons. We're learning as we go, as we try things, as we experiment with doing things different ways, and then we learn, yes, this works for me. No, that doesn't work for me. That is us learning and experiencing and evolving. That being said, it can be really frustrating. And the reality is that spirit, God, the universe, whatever you want to refer to it as, doesn't offer us a clear understanding or a clear picture of our future just because we want it, just because we're frustrated and we just want somebody to say, hey, this is your next step, so that we can stop wondering and thinking or worrying. It doesn't really work that way. Now, you can definitely receive guidance and receive answers, but there's two things. One is sometimes you're not supposed to, and two, the future is always fluid. Like, even if you meet with a psychic, or even if you receive some kind of download or vision or whatever about your future, it doesn't mean that that is what's going to play out, because gets confusing, and we've talked about this in other episodes, but the future is fluid. You have free will. So there is always multiple paths, multiple timelines, multiple ways that things can play out. And so there is no like one decided future for you. And again, going back to our episode on like soul contracts and things, so definitely listen to that one first if you haven't already. But in that one, we talk a lot about how your soul contract works and how, you might have like big events that are, you really need to do these things. These are the most likely to happen. But how you get from point A to point B, that's up to you, and point B can look this way or it can look that way. Your soul wants to be a healer in this lifetime. Well, okay, you could be a doctor, or you could be a herbologist, whatever. You could be, there's lots of different expressions that you can pursue something. You have a lot of free will throughout your life to make different choices. So there is no like, this is your future, verbatim. Things can always change, especially the further out you're looking. And so every choice that you're making is always affecting your future, internally and externally. Internally, the changes that you're making, the emotional evolving that you're doing, that is changing your future. Externally, the choices that you make, places you go, places you move, jobs you take, those things are also obviously changing your future. So it's all those little things overlapped are co-creating where you end up day by day. And so these periods where you have no clarity are actually periods where a lot of times we're integrating, we're recalibrating, we are upgrading energetically. Those times where we're lost, think of it as you are kind of at a stop sign or a stoplight. You're at a four-way stop maybe. You can go left, you can go right, you can go straight. That's your calibration point. And that's the moment where internally you probably feel like, frustrated and you're overthinking. I know where I want to go, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know which one of these roads I want to take, which one of these roads I'm supposed to take, and that is being in that moment and having that recalibration. And that's where you get to exercise your free will. And a lot of times you can tap into that intuition, your higher self, your soul being like, hey, you have all these options, but this way, if you turn right, this is going to be your most aligned option, or maybe your simplest, most joy-filled option. You can go left and you'll still get there, but it's going to be a little bit harder. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. You know what I mean? So you have all of these different paths that you can take, even if you end up at the same place. And so when you're in that season, I just want you to think of it as you being at a four-way stop where you have options, and you just pause there for a minute, just pause. Don't try to rush through this season where you are just frustrated because you feel stuck and you don't have answers and you don't know what the future holds, and that makes you nervous. Just think of it as, I'm at a four-way stop right now, and I know that I have options, and so I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to try to listen to my intuition, and I'm going to relax and let that knowing come to me, so that ultimately I know there is no wrong decision. Ultimately, I'm going to get where I need to go, but let me intuitively sit back and try to figure out which way will be the most aligned, highest, most joy-filled way to get there. And sometimes you may have a really clear path and the doors just open up and the clouds part, not literally, but you know what I mean? Like, oh, everything just aligns and it makes sense. And the universe just kind of like lays out this red carpet and is like, here, let me make this easy for you. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't at all. And God, spirit, the universe is never withholding answers from you to punish you. Sometimes it's protecting you from making decisions based on an outdated timeline or an outdated frequency. Like sometimes doors get shut because they're shut for a good reason. As an example, you might be looking for a job and you really want to get hired by this one company and they don't hire you and you're really frustrated and you're sad and you're like, dang, I thought that was going to work out. Why didn't that work out? And then your friend texts you a few days later and is like, hey, I just found out this company is laying off a bunch of people, so it's probably good you didn't get that job. That is a perfect example of the universe being 10 steps ahead of you and going, we're going to protect you. We're shutting this door because we know that's not going to be your highest timeline. If you get this job and you get all excited and then you get fired a month later, well, then you're going to feel even worse than you do right now. We don't want to do that. That's not aligned. So sometimes you just have to trust that things will work out, but you need to be open-minded to it not going the way that you think it's going to go, or it not unfolding the way you think it needs to unfold. Uncertainty and times of flux in your life are a sign that multiple potentials are still at play, and you're being invited to align with the highest one. But let's talk about what you don't want to do, okay? Because I think a lot of us do this, but this is exactly what we don't want to do, okay? So say we're at a crossroads, whether it's the end of a relationship or you're searching for a new job or, whatever it is, maybe you're moving to a new city. You have options, choices, and you're overwhelmed and you don't know, or maybe you just got fired from a job, or maybe you just got broken up with, or something happened. And you're like, well, now what? What the heck am I supposed to do? I thought life was going this way and it just U-turned me. And now I'm going, a totally different direction and I'm overwhelmed and I'm scrambling, trying to force things to happen. And that is not the way that it is going. I guarantee you forcing things to happen is not the most aligned way. Overthinking and obsessing over figuring it out, quote unquote, creates mental noise that drowns out that intuitive guidance. So anytime we want to grip onto, having the answers and being in control, and we just have this death grip on whatever it is, and we're not open-minded, all that does is it shuts down our communication pathways with spirit. It blocks our intuition, and we're just forcing this mindset of no, I have to do it this way. It needs to look this way. If it's not going this way, then I'm going to panic and I'm going to do everything I can to try to force this pathway. And that is the opposite of what you want to do, because you might be actively blocking another path that spirit wants to bring you. You never want to be in this control mindset. If you find yourself gripping to a certain of things needing to go a certain way, or needing it to look a certain way, or having a certain circumstance, and you feel really panicked, if it doesn't go this way, nothing will work out. If it doesn't look exactly like this, I'm going to be in trouble. If you find yourself in that state of mind, already you need to take 3 steps back and be like, whoa. I right now need to trust. I need to trust God, trust spirit, trust the universe, trust my higher self, that I am, one, supported. I'm supported. I'm being looked after. I have help beyond the veil, right? I'm not a lost baby fish at sea. I have some guidance here, but none of that can get to me. It cannot reach me if I'm the one insisting on holding the steering wheel. If I am the one insisting on holding the spirit, oh my gosh. I keep wanting to say spirit wheel instead of steering wheel. And I almost wonder if that's a subconscious phrase of yeah, it is kind of a spirit wheel, right? Let spirit steer the wheel, the steering wheel. If you are gripping on to the steering wheel so tightly, you're insisting, being the one who's in charge, insisting on making the right turns, you are blocking spirit. Here we go with my analogies. You guys know how I love analogies, but you're blocking spirit from taking a shortcut or taking a more scenic route or taking the safest route or whatever it is. You are blocking that from happening if you insist on being in control. And that is such a huge lesson for so many of us. And I know I've worked with clients in the past who have also really needed this message of hearing, hey, Spirit wants you to trust right now, to surrender, to know that you are supported, and your job is not to figure it all out on your own right now. That's not what we're doing. Your job is to trust that everything that is supposed to enter your life will. Everything that you are supposed to find, you will find, but you have to be in the mindset of trusting it. If you're not in the mindset of trusting that it will come, then it cannot come. Another way that we block intuition or getting those answers is having this fear or being overcome with this fear of making the wrong choice. Like, oh no, if I do this, I'll ruin my life. If I do this, I'll ruin this relationship. I'll ruin my career. Nothing will go right again. That is not how the universe works. Again, there are a million pathways to get to one place. So even if you veer off course and you take a quote unquote wrong turn, it's really not a wrong turn, right? If you're in the car and you have your GPS on and you take a wrong turn, well, guess what? You just turn around and you find a new road and you go another way. You still get to your destination. If you make a wrong turn, do you throw your hands up and go home and you're like, well, forget it. I made a wrong turn, so it's all ruined now. I can't go. No, you figure it out, you recalibrate, and you get back on the right track. That is the same thing that we are doing in life. Don't be afraid of making the quote unquote wrong choice. You can always come back to the path that you need to be on. But again, having that mindset of fear and anxiety will block you. Fear and anxiety is a very low vibration. So you are aligning with the low vibrational experiences and choices. If you are just in the state of fear and control, and again, needing to control and having the anxiety, you need to move into the mindset of trust and trusting spirit, trusting your higher self, trusting your own soul. The energy of trust and surrender. And I know you've heard this in terms of manifestation as well. A huge part of just manifesting things is surrendering, is just you put the manifestation out into the universe, and then you step back and you go, okay, I trust that it's coming. I placed an order. I trust that the order is being shipped to me. I don't have to track it every single second of the day. I know that the order is placed because I set the intention and I placed the order. I don't have to be a maniac about watching it every second of the day. I always tell my daughter, because she'll be the one to order something online, and then like 5 times a day she's like, where is it? Where is it? And I'm like, it's still at the same warehouse it was at last night. It hasn't moved. And I really try to have her like practice manifestation with this and be like, hey, if you are obsessing over where your package is, all you're going to do is block and delay it. It doesn't like to be watched. Step back, surrender, trust that it's going to arrive at the right time. It'll arrive in time or whatever, in the universe's timing and God's timing. You do not need to micromanage this. You cannot control this. The order has been placed. Let it go. It's coming. And she really struggles with that. And I get it because I have really struggled with that in the past. And patience is certainly something that I have been working on. So I get it. But your life is just like a bigger version of that. And then again, blocking it by expecting it to look a certain way. Like maybe we trust that, yeah, I think it's going to come in, but I really need it to look this way. I really need my relationship to go this way. I really need my boss to give me this specific promotion, or I really need this exact thing to happen. And the universe is like, we have something way better planned, or I've got a shortcut, or I've got, a better opportunity. You don't even know that this is going to be way better for you, but it is. Like back when we were purchasing our most recent house, I was like really locked in on this one specific floor plan of this totally different builder that I really wanted. And I was like really locked in on that. And only to find out, when we got really close to buying a home, that it wasn't available in the neighborhood that I wanted it to be available in, or like the floor plan was, they had already sold all the lots that would fit that floor plan. It was just like every corner I turned, it felt like this was really what I wanted. Like I really wanted this floor plan. I really wanted this. And I just remember being so disappointed and feeling kind of frustrated with the universe of being like, that's all I wanted. Like it wasn't anything extravagant. I just really loved this. And like, why can't it work out? And then of course, Come to find out, a few weeks later, we ended up finding this perfect home that I was absolutely obsessed with. It had a totally unique floor plan. It was already built. Somebody had built it, made it beautiful, and then didn't come to closing. Didn't show up to closing. And so we had reached out to this builder, and he was like, hey, this guy didn't show up to closing. I've got this brand new house ready to go, and it's not on the market. Do you want to come look at it? And sure enough, we went, fell in love with it. Still favorite home I've ever owned. So was that not a perfect example of me trying to force something and the universe being like, if you would just chill, freaking sit back for a second, I've got something better that you're going to like even more. And I did. I absolutely did. It was more unique. It was more custom. It had so much more charm and character. I loved it. So that is just, again, that is how the universe works. And so often we think, if it doesn't go this way, I won't be happy. And I just want to say, the universe will prove you wrong on that over and over and over and over again. You've got to trust that your higher self, the universe, whatever, knows better than you do. Another way that we block intuition or gaining clarity from spirit is, and again, I've got personal examples here too, right? Sometimes we're too close to a situation emotionally. Like sometimes if you're not super attached to a situation, it's easier for you to gain insight or intuition on it. Like I know, I think it was a Harvard study, but they did this study on pregnant mothers that basically said a pregnant mother's intuition on the gender of her child was right 75% of the time, unless the mom had a preference for the gender. If she had a preference, preferred that it be a girl, preferred that it be a boy, then her intuition, that totally threw her intuition off, and she was no longer able to accurately predict the gender of her baby. It was only if she did not have a preference that her instinct was right 75% of the time. And that is the perfect example of how emotionally close we are to something, or how much we like desire something out of that like inner, I don't want to say greed, but like that, just like that inner want, or like I really want it to be this. If that's the case, it blocks our intuitive ability to just get a clear answer, because you have that ego voice in the back of your mind going, no, but I really want it to be this. I really want it to be this. If it's not this, I'll be disappointed. So I've had this experience before, like talking to psychics. A really good example of this too was when I did my past life regression session that I've talked about in other episodes, especially my past life episode. Go listen to that one if you haven't. But I had, we did the past life, and then I was able to like ask her different questions about my life. And there were some questions where I was like, she would say, because I'm the one channeling in that session, it's a past life regression session. And, I'm in a deep meditative state. I'm connected with my higher self, and she's asking me questions, right? So she's a practitioner. She does this all the time. It was a fantastic experience. I absolutely loved it. And so many of the questions that I had written down for her to ask me, but I'm in this meditative state, so I'm not having to like think through all of this. I'm just hearing her ask a question, and then I'm tapping into my intuition and answering it. And it was such a cool experience. It really does help to have that practitioner there, because so many of the answers that I got from her were so many of the questions, that I heard her say, and then the answers would just come in instantly. Like I instantly got an answer. I do tend to be more like clear cognizant, so where I just have knowings. And so instantly I would get that answer, and I didn't have to search for it. I heard it exactly. Or sometimes it was like, the way I would describe it is like you get a knowing. It was like you get a download and you hold the meaning, but then I had to find the words for it. It was like, okay, I have the information. Now I have to put it into words to say it for you. So again, getting that inner knowing. And then I was like, all right, how do I phrase this? This is what they're showing me, basically. But there was like maybe one or two questions where I just could not get an answer very clearly. And I knew it was because those few questions, I was like, I really care about this answer. And I really have a strong opinion about this answer, like whether it was about my kids or whatever. I was just like, I really care about what this answer is. And so the ego voice is in the back of my mind going, I really need it to be this. I really need the answer to say this. And I was not able to get a clear answer. And so I told her that, we're in the session. I'm like, I think I can kind of hear something, but also like my brain, I can feel my brain wanting to fight me here because I care so much about this question. That is a perfect example of when you are too emotionally close to a situation, it's very hard to access your intuition around that question because your own ego voice is trying to influence what you're getting. And so if we have those strong desires around the topic, it can be really helpful to have someone else, to have a psychic session with me or someone else to be like, this is what because I'm not attached to your situation. I can give you clarity from a third party where I'm a neutral party, or any psychic or any practitioner that you meet with, that's a neutral party, or if you do tarot cards at home, or if whatever medium or tool you use that's more detached from the situation is very helpful to give you just more of a neutral answer where your ego mind can't step in and fight it. And it's not because you don't have the ability. I think everybody absolutely has the ability to tap in psychically, to channel, to get information. Everybody has that ability. It's just a matter of how open the channel is. And that could be based on your energetic frequency. It can be based on how much you've practiced it, but I absolutely believe anybody can do it. And honestly, I wouldn't trust anybody that says, no, this is a gift that only certain people have. I think certain people have it stronger, kind of like certain people are super athletic or certain people are really artistic. Can anybody paint? Yes. Are some people just abnormally amazing at painting? Yeah. Okay, but it is something I think everyone can do. So Spirit speaks to us through many channels, and sometimes, again, I think it can help to have support and clarity from the outside of ourselves to help get that clear answer if it's something that you're very emotionally attached to. Okay, but let's talk about in general how to receive answers from Spirit, maybe when you're not that emotionally attached and you just want to practice, or maybe you feel like, I care, but I don't care that much. Like I'm neutral enough that I can hear, answers or clarity in either direction. So if you want to seek out answers from your own intuition, from your higher self, from your guides, from Spirit, what do you do? And again, the first thing is to just shift your mindset from a control to a surrender perspective, right? Shift from give me the answer right now to, hey, show me what I need to know. Show me what would be most helpful for me right now around this decision. That small mental pivot really opens up your channel so that you can hear something that maybe it's a totally different perspective than you thought you would hear, right? Like all the time, Spirit loves to take us in directions we never thought we would go. So the first step is making sure you're receptive to that. Anytime you're tapping into that intuition, especially if you're new at this and you're not very practiced, the best way to do it is just first and foremost going to be meditation, like getting into a meditative state. So whether that's lying down or sitting down in a quiet space, clearing your mind, taking deep breaths, and getting into a receptive mindset. And that means quieting the brain so that your brain isn't reaching for answers and trying to create an answer, but just sitting and being okay with, if I hear nothing, I hear nothing. And that's okay. I'm just going to sit and be in a receiving mode. Sometimes like I've received a lot of messages or downloads when I'm doing something mundane and my brain is just kind of turned off because I'm neutral and I'm open. I'm not really thinking about anything. I'm just doing dishes, or I'm just walking, or I'm just, helping my kids in the bath. Sometimes I've gotten weird messages like that. Anytime your brain is kind of in that state, in that, gosh, I don't even know, what is that, like gamma, beta, I don't know what brainwave state that is, but in that right state where you're just a neutral channel. So it doesn't even have to be meditation. If you don't prefer to do it that way, you can take a walk outside and see what comes to you. But that is oftentimes, it's really that brain state is where the intuitive nudges can come in, is when your ego takes a step back, right? Also, use your body as a compass. Like notice, like a lot of times you will get kind of symbolic little pings in your body, right? Like ear ringing, that's a big one, right? Like your left ear ringing or your right ear ringing, or sometimes it's just like little itches, especially if it's something repetitive, like, oh, my nose always itches. And I'm not talking about medical signs, okay? I'm not saying to ignore any sort of medical symptoms. But a lot of times our bodies do like to give us breadcrumbs because it's our body's way of being like, hey, I've aligned with this specific energetic frequency. And so it's almost like a doorbell, right? So it's like, oh, ding, I aligned with this right frequency. And so my body is giving me a little energetic symbol. For example, I get ear ringing a lot in my left ear, in my right ear. I also get, this actually started happening to me in 2020 where I was in a really, really, really deep meditative state way back in 2020. And I was meditating so deep, and I wasn't meditating on anything intentionally. I was literally just clearing my mind. And I started seeing, have you ever looked inside a kaleidoscope and it's like swirling colors and shapes, just literally like a kaleidoscope. It was wild. I was not on anything. I don't do anything. Like, I was literally just meditating. It was just, I researched it and found that, oh yeah, when you're in a really deep meditative state, you can see, I guess they call it sacred geometry, symbols and symbolism. And so anyway, I had gotten into that state. During that meditation, my body started like twitching, and I never had that happen before. And it just started during that meditation. Like, I was like, oh, I twitched. And then slowly over the last 5 years, and I've always had a super sensitive system. I've literally had doctors tell me, if you're going to die, you're going to know like way before anybody else, because you're so sensitive. If one little thing is off in your body, you're going to be like, what is that? Like, that is just always how I've been. And I've had to convince myself nonstop that I'm not dying. I just feel everything really, really sensitively. Anyway, since in the last 5 years, I've slowly but surely, that little twitch has happened more and more. It used to only happen when I was meditating in a deep meditation. Then it would happen just anytime I was meditating. Then it started happening anytime I would just close my eyes with the intention of tuning into spirit or connecting with my guides, I would start twitching. And so it was almost like I could do it. I mean, I still can. Like, now I can do it on command. Not that I'm actively like forcing my body to twitch, but I can almost be like, watch this, and close my eyes. And if I attempt mentally to tune in, I'll just get like a little like twitch. And so now it happens a lot more often. And I promise, don't come for me. Like, I'm not dying. I'm the most paranoid person, I promise. If I thought this was like a legit medical symptom, I would be the first one in line at the doctor's office, I swear. But it's not. This is my body's way of going, oh, little energy shift. Oh, we just had an energy shift. Like, we're boom. I've just gotten better at it. I've gotten better at shifting into a slightly different frequency, or aligning slightly with the higher frequency I want to be in. And so every time I connect with my guides, or I'm connecting to that higher energy, my body goes, oh, okay, we're shifting just a little bit to make that energetic connection, because I can do it so much easier now. Does that make sense? So I say all of that to say, pay attention to the signs and little things that your body is doing, because your body will give you little symbols or signals that either it's like spirit nudging you to be like, hey, go inside right now. Go into your intuition. Go into your mind. Connect with God. Connect with spirit. Say a prayer. Whatever it is that you want to do. This is your little nudge to just pay attention, to just be aware of the moment right now and see, what are you thinking? What are you feeling led or called towards in this moment? Were you just thinking something? Okay, spirit might want to be kind of alerting you to that thought that you just had. Maybe you need to pay more attention to that. Okay, it could just be kind of this little like symbolic doorbell that's like, hey, pay attention. You know what I mean? So don't ignore those. Also, you can always ask for answers like in your dreams. Be like, Spirit, I really would love, if you're a big dreamer, if you dream a lot and you receive a lot of symbolism through your dreams, that would be a great option for you. Like, I'm setting the intention before I go to bed. I would really love to get some clarity on this issue in my dreams this week. Or keep a journal, like anytime if you do any kind of automatic writing where you just start writing, even if it's just nonsense, you just start writing and you just keep writing. Don't let your hands stop. And a lot of times, just keep going. And then all of a sudden you might start getting a download. You might start getting some thoughts come to you, and you just keep writing and see what happens. There's no harm in just trying. Worst that can happen is you feel like, that didn't really work, or I didn't really get anything clear. That's okay. Try again, or try a different way. There is no embarrassment. There's no shame. There is no downside to just practicing tapping in, because the more that you practice it, the more you will open up that channel to gain clarity and be able to gain answers. Because now, after 5 years of really tapping and tuning into my gifts, I can easily go inside, go into my intuition. And again, it's harder if you really, really care about the outcome. If I have a specific question that's like, this is my ride or die question, I'm going to be upset if it goes a different way, because I'm still human. We all have those, but the goal is to be surrendered and open-minded about it. But most of the time, I can very straightforward and simply get an answer from my higher self, from my guides, whatever, on almost any topic because I've just practiced it so much. And I was not a child psychic, I was not, born just understanding how any of this worked. But this is what I'm saying is I really truly believe anybody and everybody can do this. It's just a matter of trusting it, being open, practicing it, opening up that channel, and just repetitively going in and practicing. So just practice that neutral receiving. You have to be in that neutral mindset, not gripping, not trying to control, not insisting it look a certain way. Just neutrally be like, whatever I need to hear right now, whatever spirit wants to tell me right now about this topic or about anything, I'm open to receiving it. I'm open to hearing whatever it is that I need to hear. And be open to answers that might not match your ego's preference. But remember that it's probably most aligned with your soul's path. But your ego is not your friend, okay? Your ego has been affected by society's rules and standards and what you think you want. It's like me with that house plan, right? That was what I thought I wanted. That I really, really wanted that one specific thing. Until Spirit was like, would you just shut up? I've got something better for you if you would just wait. Spirit gets sassy in my head. But it's through experiences like that, and obviously that's not like a life or death kind of thing. It's silly now to think about, but at the time it felt like a really big deal to me, right? I was all wrapped up in it. I was all emotionally wrapped up in it. And now I look back and I'm like, of course it worked out. Of course it worked out. But that was an important lesson for me to learn that I needed to back off. I needed to have an experience. And now I can look back on my life and be like, well, I've had multiple experiences like this. It just took me a while to learn the lesson, right? Now I can look back and be like, oh, I needed to learn that didn't go my way because there was something better, because there was a better option. If I had just sat and trusted that from the beginning, I wouldn't have had to go through all that negative emotion and all that disappointment that I brought on myself because I wasn't trusting my path. So just a reminder that the future is not hidden from you. One, the future is not just static. It's always changing. It's always evolving based on every decision internally and externally that you're making. It's unfolding minute by minute, second by second. And when things feel unclear, it's not because you're failing spiritually. You cannot take a wrong turn, right? Because any wrong turn, all you have to do is turn around and get back on track. There is nothing. You're not going to fall off a bridge accidentally. Like there is nothing that you can do to wreck your life so bad that you are hopeless and, forgotten. I mean, you could break the law and go to jail, but even then, Spirit's got you, and there's pathways and there's things you can learn, and life is literally a million choices one by one that are unfolding as you go, and there is always room for upwards improvement. I feel like I was going in a really positive direction and then I just wrecked it for you. Like, yeah, you could totally murder somebody and ruin your life and go to jail, but just don't do that. Okay. Just don't do that, okay? I'm pretty sure if you're here, you're not going to do that anyway, so it's fine. Okay, all of that to say, thank you for being here. I hope this was encouraging. If you are somebody that has been searching for clarity and you feel like there are certain areas where you are blocked or you're not getting the clarity that you are looking for, there will be a link in my show notes if you would like to work one-on-one for a psychic reading. I would love to work with you and help you gain some clarity. Don't forget to leave a review if you have not done that yet. And if you're interested in the past life meditation, totally free, that will be in the show notes as well. If this episode was helpful, I would love it if you shared it with a friend or text it to somebody close to you. I know this is a topic that all of us encounter over and over and over again, myself included. So I hope that this is helpful and encouraged you that all is not lost, things are working out, and you're always supported. Okay, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time on Dare Me to Prosper.